Good evening and welcome to Flat Earth United Kingdom. Joining me this evening is Martin Leitsky. How are you doing, Martin?
Hey Nathan, Happy New Year. I know it's
Happy New Year to you, mate. We haven't spoken really since
no, not really, not really. Only in words, printed. So Happy New Year to you and your family. Let's have a jolly good one. I hope it started off pretty good. So, everything's nice in the realm of flat Earth. Hopefully.
I suppose it's a weird time at Christmas, isn't it? Because for some it's really joyful. You've got all your family around you, giving out gifts, and for others, they might be completely alone, and it's a really miserable time of year.
I always think of people. I always think of the homeless. Christmas time, I spare them a thought and thinking how much that must suck. It's freezing cold. You got no one, and sometimes these people are not just lazy bums. Sometimes these are people that are victims of circumstance, like a cascading events of one particular guy I used to know. He was on a television program when I was a kid, and it was a documentary on the BBC. So I thought, when I was watching, I thought, Christ, I know that guy. We see him all the time. But they told his story of he'd lost his wife and he'd had all of these circumstances and put him where he was on the street. And indeed, in the documentary towards the end, they found him dead. So I was like, so I was like, bam, when I was about 14, 15, I watched that documentary. So I've always spared a thought for the homeless Christmas, because I can't imagine how horrible it is. And people with sick relatives and all that, you take all that for granted. And I've just been into a hospital recently and seen the other side. Don't people put it in the back of their minds, and why the hell should they spare it a thought anyway? It's not in their immediate reality, but I spare a thought for it all, everything that's happening in the world. I don't take nothing for granted, Nathan. I am grateful for everything that I have, and if you're not grateful for anything you've got, then you're not going to get any more. That's how the universe works in kind, I believe.
I got a comment from a guy that was saying something along the lines of, he'd become a flat earther and started to reassess Christmas in the same way probably you and I have. But he said that rather than celebrating the typical things that people celebrate at Christmas, they looked back on the year that had passed and celebrated the good things that they'd done for each other. And I thought that was really sweet.
I like that. But you know what? I emphasized it time and again over this holidays, is why do we need just one day for everyone just to be nice to one another? Goodwill to all man. Why can't we be like that all year long? Why have we got to make excuses like, oh, well, I'll be nice this week and treat everyone with a bit of respect just because it's Christmas, aka I feel committed to. Some people feel forced into being nice just for that week. I can see it. It's palpable. I witnessed this with thine own eyes. People forcing themselves to be nice. And the rest of the year, they will be back to what they usually like. But it is a
bizarre day on Christmas Eve, because it's one of the only days on the year where, doesn't matter what town you live in, you'll walk down the street and a random stranger will say, good evening, or hello. It's the only time it's full of so much cheer that they want to say hello to everyone and pass on that cheer.
Yeah, I experienced a similar thing, but on Christmas Day. And it was the only person actually seen on my journey when I was walking back from my family's house. He looked at me and thought, shall I say Happy Christmas to him? And I thought, shall I say Happy Christmas to him? And we both thought, no.
Obviously not in Wales then.
No, let's be reserved. Not bother. Not today. He's walking his dog anyway, so he wasn't going there. But it had made me re-evaluate Christmas, being a flat earther. I was anti-capitalist anyway to begin with, but people equating it to, we'll worship it for the solstice then instead. Well, that has repercussions, or the real aspect of why they worship this time of year in the first place, which we've been pressured into doing against our will. And these rituals of Christmas presents and Christmas trees and everything else that goes along with it, I really don't feel comfortable with anymore. Knowing what it is, Santa Claus, bloody great, love him. He used to give me dolls, and I used to say, but I'm a boy. I hate the man, right? But I still feel now, because I'm a flat earther, against these sorts of practices. mainly because I think that they're ill understood, and maybe we should give things a little bit more deeper thought
I had
into
a bit of a win where Santa Claus was concerned this Christmas. And
yes.
my sister's going to hate me for saying this, but basically my sister, my niece, had got in touch because Santa Claus may not come because she'd spilt a drink. That was basically the sort of text message we'd received, me and my wife, from my sister, saying that her daughter was really upset. Santa Claus might not come because she might be on the naughty list. So the way that my wife got around this was by sending her a certificate from Santa Claus. And in amidst that, she's like, this is nonsense. I never want to be in this position where I'm having to tell compounded lies to justify the fact that Santa might not come. It's just nuts. But that was enough to convince my wife, yeah, I think we'll probably just tell her the truth about, Christmas in general. Maybe tell her, what St. Nicholas was, or, give her an idea of the history.
Nice. In a sense,
not just say Santa Claus is real, he's coming down the chimney. Not that we've got one.
No, but my mother never did that. We didn't play Let's Pretend That Father Christmas existed. We didn't. That was not something we ever went with. We just knew from the very beginning that was a load of hogwash. So I never had no problem there.
Well, I've got no issue with the way you've just phrased it. So saying we'll pretend that Santa Claus exists, that I can deal with. To say to your kid, let's pretend that Santa's going to come on Christmas Day, that's fine. Because then kids are really good at fantasy.
You can do Tooth Fairy? Will you do Tooth Fairy? Because I had Tooth Fairy. My sister had Tooth Fairy. I knew that a fairy weren't going to come and give me that 50p or a pound under my pillow, but I certainly expected it there in the morning. So I bet you do the same, Nathan. It's just these practices that we do.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't want to ever be in that position where my kid comes to me and says, "You mean you lied?" I'll be like, "Oh, don't lie."
We all look, I had this argument with my friend a couple of about 3-4 years ago, when we said, "Well, look, our parents lied to us. They lied to us about Father Christmas." Well, not me, but most everybody out there was lied to from the instant about Father Christmas. All right, school and the rest, and the parents are actually complacent too because they don't understand what's going on. Really, some do, but they're against it. I read, just not to go off topic too much, Nathan, but there's a lot more people now doing home education or educating their children at home. Are you for that at all? Do you think this is a good thing?
I've got to be honest, I haven't even given it any thought or consideration. It's the first time it's even crossed my mind.
I wasn't suggesting for in the future, but I'm just thinking because a friend of mine did it with 2 of his sons. He kept him home from a friend that died recently. 2 of these kids that he kept home, but it's because they were going through bullying. Well, to me, that's something that all of us need. Something we all need to address when we're in school, and we either fight it out and get it out, sorted out, or spend the rest of your life hiding behind the bush. That's the way it's going to go in this world. So he literally pulled them out so that they didn't get to learn that lesson, and now because of that, they are struggling with social abilities through their life, both of them. And I'm convinced it was because of that home education. They missed out on the interaction with the women, the girls in school, and the whole way that the structure of school sets you up for what's in the outside world, but it's got no resemblance to the outside world. Once you get there, everything's formal and wooden, isn't it? Oh God, time to go to work, be told what to do, and everything's Oh,
I couldn't disagree more.
No.
You leave the playground and you stay in the playground. I mean, flat Earth at the moment is so evident in that respect. It does seem like we're in the playground still.
Yeah, flat Earth. Yeah, I will agree with you there, Nathan. I will agree with you.
Even if you had a corporate job, I'm sure there's people watching right now that have got a corporate job, and it seems like they're going to the headmaster when they go to the department manager. When they have to explain that somebody's done something they shouldn't. It's like they're tattletaling. It's just like being at school. Nothing changes.
No, it is. You're bang on. It's exactly that. It's that school mentality. But I wasn't like that myself. I didn't even go to high school much, and I only done 4 years of the 5. Last year, I was forbidden to step on the school property, or they would ring the police. So I wasn't allowed to go there. And I went there for my leaving certificate, and they laughed at me. You weren't even year 2 leave. Okay. But you needed the leaving certificate to go to the careers office in order to get a job. But they weren't willing to play that. So, But
Do you remember that little dance with the careers office? Oh,
yeah,
I wonder what wonderful job they'll have in store for me.
I'm so excited. She said, "What do you want to do?" I said, "Well, oh my God, you're not going to believe what I said to NASA. I did to the one. I said I want to work for NASA. I said to the one lady, can't believe that. And look how much I've changed now. Oh God, I said that. I'd like to work for NASA.
Even now, I'd love to do that now. You know, if somebody said to me now, how many times have you heard somebody say, well, we're never going to get the opportunity to go down and just look at it all? Well, I remember when the Lynx Apollo thing came out. You remember Lynx? It's probably called Axe in America.
Yeah.
But they did like a program where you could go up. And I was all for it. I bust a gut to try and get onto that program. I'd have loved to have gone up to space. Awesome. Even though we now know space isn't what they tell us, would you not still want to really go up and have a proper good look? I would.
Okay, you know when they say Picard went up that high, do you think it was even possible or conceivable that his eyes could see that distance, to see the entire disc curved up at the edges? You know, I'm trying to think of what, you know, with the height he got. Would he have been able to visually see all of that below him? I don't know. And wouldn't he have took photographic evidence? So does that exist out there somewhere? Well,
also, wouldn't there be a boundary line, what in the heliocentric system they call the terminator line? There is definitely a separation between light and dark. It even looks like it's tailing off, you know, as we watch multiple sunsets, as we all do. You know, there's definitely a dividing line. I've caught it myself, you know, I filmed it myself, and I'm sure you've shown me footage out at sea where it's much more obvious when they literally turn the camera around. One side of the footage is daytime, one side of the footage is nighttime. Well, were you to rise up and look across that, you'd still see that quote unquote terminator line. So beyond that, you'd just see darkness. So presumably not.
Yeah, got me thinking. Oh, sorry, yeah, Nathan. I was just thinking about these moon projections throughout the week. I've had so many sent to me. One guy, Jason Sherwood, guy called Jan, who lived in Norway. Guy in Colorado, Vincent Corrado. That's 3 different people. I had a few more. Sent me images of their moons all the same night, all across the plane. So,
and me, I sent you one.
Yeah, and you sent me one. So that's 5. Okay. So the relative position of Venus and the moon was the same all over the plane, more or less. But the crescent was different. It was say 7 o'clock to 1 o'clock position. Yeah. It was a smiley face 8 o'clock to 4 o'clock position in Norway, which is only not that far east of us. Not even 1,000 miles east, 800 miles east of us to central Norway, northeast. I just don't understand why there would even be a difference that close to us. So I can't work that out. I'm trying to get my head around it, but I don't know if it'd be significant to the flat Earth model whatsoever. But I have given it some thought to why people are seeing different projections. Obviously, perspective. I'm over here on this part of the plane, and I'm looking up, so I should see. But no, not that close. Not that close. He's well within our longitude line. He's the next one over. That doesn't make no sense to me personally. But we thought that I actually witnessed the 3rd body last night, guys, right? Which I thought was Mars, but it lacked the red hue, or sometimes that bluey hue that I see. And I took a photograph of it. I looked down to check it, looked up, and it disappeared. And this 3rd luminary was seen by many people last night. You've seen it yourself, but you've seen something else because it disappeared, Nathan.
Yeah, it's about bizarre occurrence. I mean, I know we had the alignment on was it the 2nd of January? And then last night, you know, just strange things. And it's because, I mean, I've said this many times, I'm always looking at the sky, have done for many years. This is no different for me. So nothing that I'm seeing comes as a particular shock. Whereas to many, since coming to flat Earth, suddenly they're transfixed with the sky. You know, they just can't stop looking at it. And you get some weird comments like, this was linked to Mandela effects. I can't remember who it was that said this, but it was like, you know what, the stars, they actually twinkle. They didn't used to do that. you think, oh, crock of crap, you know, you just never looked before. You know, now you've actually started
twinkle,
looking.
little star.
Well, that's what they added on to the end of the statement. They were like, I know there's that, you know, I know there's Beethoven and Twinkle Twinkle, but, you know, I'm sure they didn't actually twinkle before. Yeah, they did. You just didn't look. Like with a lot of things, you know, most people don't pay that much attention. Movie titles is one thing. Looking up in the sky, for me, it was always absolutely amazing. And it's no different now. You know, I'm glad more people are looking up because it is amazing. You've only got to tilt your head at night time and you go, wow, this is awesome.
I do. I find this so fascinating. I went out earlier with the night visions, but there wasn't much to see. But, you know, Nathan, all these years that I spent at sea, the electric just went on and off there. The lights went on and off. All the things I've seen, I've seen the Northern Lights and many, many things. But I tell you one thing that I haven't caught is a sundog. Now, have you seen one?
Oh, I've seen a sundog.
Where did you catch that?
I think it was Russia. I can't remember.
Because I think
can't remember exactly where.
To create the effect for it. But that gets me thinking, sundogs, because I've been looking into that. I've been looking into the reasons that they could be. And it's very domey to me. I keep thinking, I never actually used to be a domey, you know, Nathan. But the more I think about it, the more it actually makes sense. It would be like a sort of terrarium. And, you know, you would get water vapor, which are clouds. And you would get these things like the way we experience. It would be perfect on a massive scale. Maybe it'd just be loads of terrariums all lined up or something.
Yeah, it's just the term dome. It makes me think of a downturned edge that reaches the ground, and I just don't like that idea. You know, if you've got all your different density gradients, which we're always demonstrating when we're trying to debunk gravity, and you can just imagine that going up and up and up and up into all the different layers until you reach whatever plasma, say for the sake of argument. And there's always various different interactions between these different states of matter. You know, you've got solids with gases dispersed through them becoming foam. And I'm sure up higher in the atmosphere, when MIT say there's a hard, fast layer and it's like a glass ceiling, I think that turn of phrase is kind of misleading. You know, being like a glass ceiling doesn't mean it's made of glass, doesn't mean it's a dome, doesn't mean it's got any downturned edges. It just means we can't get past it. You know, it is a hard, fast layer. But that's as far as it goes. Layer, I like that. It's a layer. An impenetrable layer, fine. But dome, ugh, makes me cringe.
You get different densities of water, don't you? You ever seen that video where that guy was in that sub and you seen some still water pond or something, and he was like, I think he was in the Sunrise Trench or somewhere ridiculously deep.
Yeah, with the mussels all around the edge and he bounces off it.
Yeah, and he couldn't penetrate it because it was just like, well, more saline. I don't know what reasons, but there was just different density of water, and he just couldn't penetrate it. So, you know, I'm not saying that there's water up there, but there are different densities. That could be one way of non-penetrable, if that's a word. Oh, do you know what, Nathan? You know, I've been checking out that theory that Tunguska event could have been caused by Tesla's death ray. There's all videos made about it now. My theory.
Great minds. Great minds.
Out into the ether. I've been chucking that out into the ether for about 6 months or more now.
Are you trying to claim credit to this idea? Is that what you're trying to hint at?
I'm trying to say I can't believe that too many people thought that at the same time as me. I got 300 videos now. If you go about 150 back, I was saying it back then, so I'm saying it a long while. This, I'm not saying I claim credit, but no, it was just I did think it. I just think it, and other people are thinking it too. And it is a good theory because it happened the same year, and it is an inexplicable event and humongous sized event. You know, you still see the damage there today. Tree splinters and such. If you went there today, over 100 years later.
The official story is they don't know what caused it, correct?
Well, the official story, according to my book, is the Russians will say it was a meteor airburst, and it exploded as it entered the atmosphere, causing an airburst, which flattened the trees out in this said fanned fashion. But that doesn't ring true because towards the edges, they all spiral outwards. It's really unusual.
Well, but why would they be there at all? If I mean, surely they'd just be obliterated. They wouldn't just have all the bark charred off them.
This is exactly why it doesn't work. And there was no crater, there was no impact point, there was no debris. You think of something that would cause something of that size, there would have been some meteor sheds, but nothing ever showed up. But it is a swampy region anyway. But no, this book I got summarizes anything from an antimatter burst coming in from the cosmos, because globe believers believe that antimatter bursts are a real thing, as they believe gamma ray bursts are a real thing that could take us out at any moment. Or supernovae. Beetlejuice is going to go supernovae, Nathan.
I've been watching the Hypothesis recently. Getting really into him. He's way beyond my pay grade, but he's great. And he's saying, well, photons, makey-uppy nonsense. So once you expand that out, you get to a lot of these things like gamma ray bursts and go, that probably doesn't work either.
No, it doesn't. I got a book called Gamma Ray Bursts. That's what its title is. And it's an entire book just on that subject, believe it or not. But the more you dig into it,
it's kind of a nonsense with the way they describe it. So because of the way that light travels, you've got this situation where we are literally, I think it's 7 minutes behind with our sun. So is it 8 minutes? So what we're actually seeing, according to the heliocentric system, is a 7-minute-old sun. So were the sun to explode now at this second, we'd be in blissful ignorance for 7 minutes. Well, no, light doesn't travel that way, according to the Hypothesis. Obviously, like I say, it's way above my pay grade, but it's fascinating stuff to listen to.
I'll have to look into that, Nathan. I'm quite intrigued with the properties of photons, because apparently they're massless packets of energy, almost massless. So how can they even exist? And yet I've been giving light a lot of thought, especially since I've been a flat earther, and the properties of light. They're ill understood. Obviously, we only see a tiny amount of the visible light spectrum. But the properties, I think in scientific terms, I need to work it out. So I think, okay, well, light is a wave function, and if it's not a particle as such, how does it exist? The way they explain it. So I can't really go with a scientific model of light, especially light speed, 186,000 miles per second, they say. No, the more I think about it and the properties of light, it doesn't work. They want to.
No. The explanation he gave, as best as I can do, given my limited understanding, was if you imagine, again, you look at your density gradient. So you've got your glass of water with a straw going through it. Well, as the light travels through that glass, it's being slowed down by the different mediums. But when it reaches the other side, it speeds back up again to reach your eyes. Obviously, the light, the thing that you're viewing between here and the glass has no speed change in the photons, according to what they tell us. But of course, that makes no sense. How would it go through and then speed right back up again once it reaches the other side? If it's been slowed down and it's an actual thing, then it's been slowed down. That makes no sense. But that was how he explained it. Like I say, definitely check him out. He's a photographer. So
I know it's Ken Wheeler, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly, Ken Wheeler. Yeah.
I know. I follow him. I follow his stuff on what he was doing on not Gravity, but his ideas. It was Bob actually watching Globebusters. They turned me on to him. First time I'd seen him, and I really like the stuff. Yeah, but I will watch that. I find that fascinating. Light is ill understood, and that's counterintuitive, isn't it? How can it slow down and speed up again? Does it have his own mind?
He's looking at all sorts of stuff. So when he's talking about gravity, he's talking about things like frictionless clutching, and he's got this $1,000. It's the size of a cake. This massive neodymium magnet. How on earth he keeps bits of crap off it, I have no idea. No, I even asked him, and he was like, "Oh, you just keep it away from stuff." I was like, here, as soon as it got through the door, just be covered in stuff. Just a bit of stuff would be attracted to it. But on his video, it's pristine. It's perfectly clean, and he's got it on this this wooden box with a towel over it. And, you know, things like trying to suck its way down to the metal table, you know, it's just fighting with everything that's metal around it. But yeah, like I say, he spins up a gyroscope, sticks it in the middle, and it spins quite happily, sticks it on the edge, and it slows it. And he's talking about, you know, this will be the future, frictionless clutching.
Oh, that's incredible. Yeah, I've seen a bit of this, but despite him, but that is a definite for the future. Oh, that's incredible. I like them grabless change. That technology is easy to harness. You know,
what technology? I didn't catch that.
I can't say it. I'm tongue tied there. These gravity-less trains that just run on a basically the repellent
magnetic levitation.
That is something that can easily be done everywhere. They're spending something like $500 million in Britain redoing the railway lines, yet they don't introduce maglev. And I'm thinking, why don't they? You know, it just, you know, the costs would go down on everything, the fuel, and it's such a smooth way to run on air, on a magnetic train. Awesome. Can you remember years ago, space lifts, the concept of space lifts, Nathan?
Of course, we'd have, what was the technology they were going to use? Like nanotube. I think it was nanotube technology to have a cord going all the way up so that they could run an elevator up and down, up and down. You know, again, when I remember them telling me about that and thinking, hang on a second, so this thing's going up. So the top point of it, that's going to be spinning, you know, the rim velocity is massively increased as you go out. So you've got this even greater speeds on this stupid thing at the top of it.
Can you imagine in reality if it was on a spinning pole, it would be just dragging behind like a wagon tail.
You know, it's being dragged along at the top and it's like curved.
Ridiculous notion. It is so stupid. I know. Yeah, you're right. Nano of the top of an Andean mountain, apparently, and it was supposed to be completed in 1999. But a friend of mine said that he had a dream that we were on it, on said space lift. He went to the space hotel, so this was definitely going to happen. So
I never really understood the point of it either.
NASA put a challenge.
Would it serve?
No, I think it's just decoying. NASA put a challenge out to all like American universities, you know, the high-end ones, Ivy League ones like Stanford and all of these, and they was $1,000 for any students that could come up with a space lift. And then there was 4 geeky kids came along with their concept, showed it off. It was on a documentary, one of them discoveries probably, and they showed off their invention for a space.
Yeah, I saw it. It was a solar-powered pulley system that would climb up a rope, basically.
You got it. That was the best they come up with. So they were offering $1,000. So they were trying to promote the idea of getting up in a space lift. But that was if space was a reality, right? Then that would be beyond the bounds of possibility for them to do something like that off an Andean mountain. As a reality, they're poor. They just can't do it, and they will never do anything like that. And this we're
picking apart the flaws in the stuff they say is actually correct and saying, well, that doesn't make sense, that's nonsense. So the theoretical stuff they come up with is so out there when you consider that.
Nathan, do you know what? It worries me how flippant they're getting with the news now. They're really extracting the urine with us now. They are with Nathan. This guy, who was an actor, an American in I don't know whether you've seen this. He's in Istanbul. He's an American. Apparently, a bullet has ricocheted or hit his iPhone, okay, off an AK-47, and he got a tinsel tied around his leg. And he's in the back of an ambulance saying, when I get this terrorist, I'm going to beat him up. I'm going to beat him up.
Yeah, I saw it on Russian vids. It was cut with kung fu fighting, wasn't it? But like you say, he's got tinsel, no blood, absolute outrage.
Outrage. Are they just taking the piss or what? And they're getting worse. The worst one for me was this guy standing behind the Russian ambassador in he was a Turk apparently. He looked absolutely nothing like any Turk I've ever seen in my life. He looked pretty British actually, and pulls out a gun. Shoots a guy in the back, so the guy naturally falls on his back, never mind the force of the bullet pushing him forward, falls on his back like this, outward stretch, symbolically. And this cameraman who stands in there doesn't run or duck away. He just stays there. And the guy with the gun looks at him together. He doesn't even shoot at him. That's what worries me.
Parts, wasn't it? I mean, the squibs went off and his collar goes up. But
yeah, but that's starched collars, Nathan. My grandfather had the same. And they're so starched. And then if you go like that, they'll go like that. If he had a fat neck, and when he went like that, right, it caused the collar to flick up. I've seen it happen. I've seen that effect happen with fat blokes and starched collars. Fact.
I mean, I'm no ballistics expert.
But you see that, though,
would he be dead before he hit the ground? I don't think so. I mean, I've watched enough gory shows online that have got actual footage of people being shot.
One bullet is not enough. No, look. You know, 50 Cent, he's been shot like half a dozen times. Yeah, and it's like he's lucky they miss everything. But that guy had big body, he had big muscle. You know, well, actually, I was going to say fat, but yeah, Nathan, you see what they do with ballistics gel? It's just no. He wouldn't have died. He'd have been squirming in pain, maybe. Or
this is something I've talked about before. It's probably not for everybody, so viewer discretion advised at this stage. But there's a website called Best Gore, BESTGORE. I don't know if I've ever mentioned this before. Have I mentioned this to you before?
No, I've never heard of it. No.
I think it was a conversation I had with Stephen Chess, and he was explaining that he'd you know, I think it was after the Paris attacks. He was saying, you know, he'd seen what people look like when they're in their, you know, state of death. And I was like, oh, you're a Best Gore subscriber, aren't you? And it's like, oh yeah, I am. Yeah. I was like, right, okay, great. So we're both on the same page. We know how much abuse people can take. And I'm not, it sounds really horrible. It's a difficult thing to phrase. You know, people are really hard to kill. You know, this is going to sound so.
That's a fact.
But yeah, you know, having watched a few shows where they show, you know, people being executed, and I mean, no doubt whatsoever that it's absolutely legitimate. You know, horrifying. But it shows you that people will take a lot to kill them, and I do mean a lot to kill them. One shot, he wouldn't be dead before he hit the ground. You know, he might be writhing in a huge amount of agony with a lot of blood around him, but there was none of that.
See, this is what busted it apart. But you're right, people are hard to kill them. I know of multiple occasions in Cardiff's history where when they used to hang people, they didn't break the neck on the first time. Some people had to be done 3 times before the neck break effect would kill them. Horrible thought, isn't it?
Yeah, we might change the subject.
Yeah, I know. I was just thinking of Marie Antoinette's head in a basket, then saying the Lord's Prayer, and see what shoots into the psyche when you get on these sort of subjects. Apparently, that happened. You know, did you know that?
What happened?
Well, when Marie Antoinette was having her head chopped off on the green, where this in the Tower of London, but this part of the green of the Tower of London is somewhere where the ravens will always congregate. It's a bit of a spooky area. But when her head was chopped off, she was saying the Lord's Prayer, and when her head went in the basket, everybody swore that her mouth was still moving and the words were still coming out. It freaked them out. Apparently, a lot of people run out in hysterics. Caused a bit of a stir in London. Yeah.
I mean, I could probably imagine that being true.
Well, I got a book called "The Unexplained History of London," and it goes right the way back in time of all the really unusual tales out of London. And believe you me, there are so many unusual tales, like, you know, Sweeney Todd for one, you know, and God, there's so many. But that was one.
There might be Americans watching that don't know the story of Sweeney Todd, although I think it was a Johnny Depp movie, a musical.
Yeah, but that's like loosely based on the reality of what he was doing. But yeah, he
give us a quick recap then. Give us a recap.
He was the barber in the old days. He was a multi-tasker. He did a lot of stuff. But the barber of Fleet Street is a really famous street in London where all the newspapers are. But if you go to the end of Fleet Street, there's St Paul's Cathedral. So it's really symbolic, sort of famous place. So he had a barber shop there, and he fell in love with this lady, and she demanded things. She wanted shiny things. So he was his business was frailing. So she devised a method that they could bring people upstairs into the barber shop. He would collapse the chair. The person would basically go down a slide to the bottom of the basement of a bakery below the barber shop, where she would crown them and kill them, and then they would basically chop them up and put them in the pork pies. The entire population of London at this time, because it got very popular, were eating human flesh. And this happened for quite some time until Sweeney Todd got busted, and it was a kid that had spotted him across the road with his chair going down all the time. And he eventually pulled police didn't exist at this time, but the local, what were they called? The Blues Tattoos, weren't they? So we called him over, said, look, and the chair was collapsing in the window. So they caught him. And there's no telling how many he killed, but he was a mass murderer. It was in the dozens and dozens. This could have been going on years, they said. Sweeney Todd, the barber of Fleet Street. What a sick man, though. He earned a fortune selling human pies, worse than Soylent Green, Nathan.
I was going to mention, I was waiting for the right moment.
You weren't, were you? It's a good film.
It is. Soylent Green is people.
People, yeah. What gets me at the beginning is Charlton Heston takes his father is this actor, one of my all-time favourites, or the famous old gangster. Oh, 3-barrel name. I had it in my mind and it went. Anyway, so Charlton Heston takes in this slice of lettuce, and you haven't seen it for like 20 years. The green is the atmosphere is polluted a pea soup colour, and he takes him up this piece of lettuce that he's found at a murder scene because he's a detective, and he's like, "Is that what I think it is? Lettuce, real lettuce." When I was a kid watching that, I thought, oh my God, that's the world to come. Lettuce will be a rarity and we'll be eating Soylent Green.
Well, we've had Patricia Steere recently read 1984, and they had a similar scene in there, didn't they, when they had real coffee and chocolate and things?
Mm-hmm. Very similar. Did you ever see that film V for Vendetta at all? With
yeah, sure, with the guy out of The Matrix, plays Smith.
Yeah. There's one scene in there where Stephen, the famous British comedian, the one with HIV. I don't like to. He's not famous for that. The one off Blackadder, Stephen
Fry.
No, yeah, he stars in it, right? And he's a collector of objets d'art. So he's got this underground like bunker where he opens it up and everything old world is in there. But
yeah, he's got Bibles and the Quran and things like that, hasn't he?
Yeah, but it's the death sentence just for having these objects. And imagine a time in the future where that will be, where literature or just object d'art or even just objects like a snow globe are not even allowed in that utopian society. That would be a nightmare.
That was something else that Ken was talking about, which was data. So if your only reference, and we've got this coming our way, in fact it's come our way with the cloud, so if all of your data isn't in your possession, then it's liable to be manipulated. There's a likelihood that someone can alter it, change it, delete it completely. Whereas if you physically have the data, if you have a book, and it doesn't matter if it's ripped to a CD-ROM, you've got that in your possession. I mean, I've always been like this with movies. It's not like reference libraries that Ken's got, but with movies, I've always been of the opinion I want it. I don't want to steal it from some downloadable site. I want a physical hard copy. And every time I've got a new computer, I've got a copy to put on that hard drive. I don't have to faff and fiddle and transfer it across because I've got it. It's mine. I've got a copy of it. It doesn't mean I own the license. It doesn't mean I can use it in my, my videos, the music or the footage, but I've got my copy. And that means forever, that material. That's why when things like the Mandela effect come along, I go, well, no, I can easily reference what I've got, and I have done plenty of times. I've watched these movies, and yet you get people who will watch something once at the movie theatre, buy the DVD, stick it on a shelf, and never ever look at it. Me, I didn't have a TV license for quite some time. All I watched was movies. So I didn't watch a disc once. I watched it dozens and dozens of times. And me and my wife were saying this yesterday. We got the new X-Men movie or whatever, Christmas present. And we were fighting over who gets to hold the DVD, you know, the case. Because you know, like when you're kids, who gets to hold the book, you know, it's like that. So, and when you're holding it, you're studying it, you're looking at
I understand. Do you know what's on a big comeback now? Is vinyl records. Everybody wants them for just that exact reason, Nathan.
And it never went away, you know, for a while. I don't know if it's true now, but certainly when I was selling hi-fi, there was a period where vinyl was outselling CDs. You know, there's huge amounts of vinyl sales.
In recent days, you mean?
Yeah, recent times. No, vinyl sales are massive.
News last night. They were saying that they were in a record shop and they said it's gone through the roof. And they asked like a load of younger people what was the attraction, and they were saying basically they sound better. I think
second harmonic distortion.
I just something about it, and that crinkle as well now and again, and the fact that you can basically read them, and it's something physical and tangible that you can hold, and the lyrics are written down. You can read the lyrics. And
do you remember? I think it was "Don't Forget Your Toothbrush," and maybe not "Don't Forget." It was Chris Evans. Maybe it was.
Yeah.
TFI Friday. That was
TFI,
it. And when CDs had just come out, this is in the 90s. Not just come out, but were really popular. It was all you could get. And he made this massive hand with like with a record-sized CD, so that he could hold up the massive hand with something that you could actually look at rather than this poxy little CD.
I remember it. I remember that, Ange. I remember it. That was a long, long time ago, Nathan. I can't believe you can remember that. I had a dream about Chris Evans back about 2 months ago. I was in a job working with him. Weird you should say that. I'm not joking. Chris Evans. I've never met the guy or seen him in real life. It's really strange. Broke my dream, man. Sorry? Ginger. Yeah, she's a ginger mother. Yeah.
Yes, he is indeed a ginger.
Yeah, I used to have a big breakfast with Paula Yates, and Paula Yates was an extraordinary story. She was a victim of the music industry and died mysteriously. She was
as did her ex-husband at the time,
which was Michael Hutchins from In Excess, which were a really awesome band for what they did do. I used to like their music.
Wasn't he an asphyxie wank death?
It was an asphyxie wank death, whatever that was, because I only first ever heard about it when they said about it then. But apparently they were both opium addicts, so it was coupled with, I suppose, drug addiction, and he had some sort of rope tied around his neck and his feet behind him, and if he pulled his feet back, he would strangle himself whilst beating off. Yes, and died doing it. So I don't know why he would do that if he had a girlfriend called Paula Yates. I found that really, really weird. And
I remember Paula Yates went on Have I Got News for You once, obviously while she was still alive, and she called Ian Hislop the sperm of the devil. And Ian Hislop's response was, even your insults emanate from the genitals.
But Ian Hislop, he is insipid. I just find him so patronising. He's like got this aloofness where he's so much more intelligent than everybody else around him. He drives me nuts.
Probably because he is.
Yeah, but that's probably because he is. Yeah, I know. Well, he is the editor of Private Eye, and he's an insider. And I don't find Paul Merton at all funny, Nathan. I find him.
Oh, you don't? I like Paul Merton.
I knew you were going to say it. I knew you were going to say it. That's why I said that. I thought, I bet you like him. I used to like him, but now I find him droll because he's a bit dated, and that sort of humour is not really PC anymore. What he used to do, same as Harry Enfield. His old sort of routines. Not. He did Ken. That teenager. It's not
Kevin and Perry.
Kevin and Perry. But what is it, Mrs. What is it? Thank you, Mrs. Patterson. Yes, Mrs. Patterson. That was Perry. Perry was my favourite, but that was played by a woman, Kathy Yates.
Martin.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kathy Burke, I think.
Kathy Burke, yeah. But he did it on a stupid Christmas show that was on telly, and do you know what? I don't know why anybody in that place was laughing. I haven't got a clue. It's so lost on me. The humour of today, I really just not finding funny, Nathan. I'm just not. I was into alternative comedy. You know, I still find Monty Python hilarious, but nothing that's coming up now I find funny at all. Not really.
You were talking about Time Bandits the other day, and I haven't watched that for years, I must admit. And you mentioned about there being the map they use in it being akin to a flat Earth map.
Yes, it is. I need to take a closer look at it. I'm going to download it and I'm going to freeze frame it because it was a circular map. It had corners, it had portals, and there's a lot of references, I reckon, in that film to flat Earthness, don't you know? I really do. So I'm going to look deeper. What am I doing? Because I'm live on air, yeah? Oh dear. Sorry, Nathan. I'm doing something that's nonsensical. I did warn you of this scenario. Have you got people in chat, Nathan, at all?
Yeah, I've been keeping an eye on it. Stephen Chester's in there. Markovsky.
Hey, Mark.
Got. I can't read at this distance. I can just about make it out. Something.
I haven't even opened
something
the
Puppet
watch
Master.
page.
Yeah,
what I find is I did a mod in the other day for about 3 hours, and it was just watching the screen constantly, and my eyes were shot by the end of it. And what I find is, apart from it's distracting when you're trying to talk, it sort of sways you away, don't they?
It is definitely a skill. You know, I've got it. I've got 50% down. I can just about keep an eye on the chat and keep a conversation going. And if something interesting happens, you know, someone in the chat earlier was like, "No, Nathan." I'm like, "No, what?"
Right. This is why I won't look into chat and get into anything like that. It's a new year. Not doing that this year.
But it's an interesting conversation, actually. I'm glad we've come on to this. I didn't think we'd cover this, but the chat. What I won't phrase it. I won't lead you anyway. What do you think of the chat in general? Do you think it's useful?
Oh, I love it. I love it. I absolutely love it. I think it's useful. What I have found out is the psychological aspects. You know, the personalities that have come out. My mother's having a conversation. My sister just come back from Spain, or Lanzarote, as I like to call it. Can you go in the bedroom because I'm live on there? You.
No, it's her house. Don't be so mean.
No, Amy. She's talking to my minty horrible sister, you know. So.
You're a proper misery guts, you are.
I am getting old, though, Nathan. I'm entitled to be a misery guts. Okay, I'm a middle-aged man now. What was you asking me then? No, sorry.
About the chat. I mean, until Dell actually got people to come in and, you know, communicate in such a way that you can get people in via the chat. I've always seen it as pointless. Yeah, you can stick the link straight in the chat if you want to, but it never ends well. So is there any useful conversation that takes place in the chat? To me, it just seems like every other chat room I've ever seen. It's just lots of abuse,
I tell you what it is.
arguments.
It's a lot of hellos, a lot of greetings. So everybody greets one another. And then some spiteful stuff starts coming out from one or two individuals. And then that starts a chain reaction amongst other people. The people who are meaning good to be trying to keep peace, but actually make it all worse. And then it ends up battling away in chat. And then people end up getting timed out and what have you. So this always happens. And that's part and parcel of chat. But there is positive aspects to it. Yeah, there is. But look, what I like to think I do, Nathan, is I like to think I bring people together and chat. Yeah. It is bringing people together. You know, there's been some like that you had with Zoe the other night. That was a glorious chat. Everybody was happy by the end of it, and everything was up a vibration, and everybody was happy for it, grateful for it too. Yeah. So yeah, I think chat's well important.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree. I mean, I just think it. Mainly because of the mods. I mean, I sort of cave in a little bit to peer pressure when it came to moderating the chats. For a long time, I just had Paula do it. And I was really happy. She never banned anybody and never downed anybody out because there was never any need. Really, I only wanted to ban and time people out for spamming, you know, for filling up the chat with rubbish, you know, 6666666 constantly being posted, so no one can see what you're posting.
I've seen it. Yeah, spamming.
Gets annoying. But other than that, as far as I'm concerned, Validation Boy's got the right idea. Leave them to their own devices. Let them fight it out in there. People tend to be a bit more polite if they know that they're not going to, you know, just get kicked out any moment or whatever. People tend to actually just air their grievances, and then the person's there to discuss it with them. They might end up swearing and shouting at each other, which is why I think it's not useful. You know, a face-to-face confrontation is a lot more useful than one in chat, where there's a million miles of wire between the two people, and they can say what they're like. They would never say the same things in person.
A good point, but I did conceive about last month of doing a vlog and turning the chat off, and then I thought, just before I went live, I thought, no, I don't think I could bear it. I don't think I could bear not seeing everybody, so I just didn't bother, because it's easy to turn chat off, isn't it? You know?
I mean, I'm only saying from a practical point of view. Don't get me wrong. I love the chat too. I like the chat. I will spend a lot of time in places like Poncho, Peach, and Strong, and you know, whatever it's called now. But those sorts of sites, there isn't. Sometimes it's completely dead air, and there's only the chat to interact with, and that is nice. You know, you do actually get to interact with people and do a bit of socializing. But do you ever convert anybody? Do you ever get a point across? Do you ever win any debate points in there? Nah, of course not.
No, you can't even have it. You couldn't, because it'd be going too fluidly, and you wouldn't be able to conduct a decent conversation in there anyway. And then there's always a third party interfering, and everything gets confused, contrived. And no, it's not possible to sort anything out in chat ever. Especially the busier chats like Globebusters. Christ, when there's 700 people there in chat, and it's going past like.
That's nothing. I've been in some tech channels. Linus Tech Tips occasionally does a live stream. Nobody will have heard of him, but look him up if you want. It just talks about computers. But in Linus Tech Tips, when he does a live stream, you can't read a thing. It's you literally can't read anything. You know, there's a few hundred people in there chatting all at the same time, and you imagine what it's like with any given second, 20 or 30 people hitting return and posting something. It's like your chances of reading it are zero. You know, it just gets to the point where what's the point of having it? You know, no one's talking to each other. They just want to get their comment in. You know, that's all they want to achieve.
Yeah, it's got its pluses, but it's got its downsides for sure. Chat. I'm just watching my mother. I'm frightened she's gonna fall over. You all right there, Danny?
Yeah.
You know, CGI mother, you're famous. She's got an avatar, my mother, you know. She's Martin's handler.
Mechanics of the Fourth Wall, Martin's handler.
Yeah, it's really cool. The image
cartoon formerly known as Tim Osman, is it not?
Yeah, it's funny as anything. But excuse me, I've been full up with a chem flu all over the new year since about Christmas Eve or something. The lights keep going on and off. What's going on? There's no thundery weather, is there? That's unusual. That doesn't usually happen.
Got a little topic change for you, Martin. So you've had a few very high-profile guests recently. Where do you want to start?
I have. Well, yeah. Well, I interviewed Quasi-Luminous. I thought because everybody was a week to leading up to, he came to me. I didn't go to him, and the reason he came to me, I can only guess. Right. Is that I was...
I'm going to interrupt straight away because he kind of came to you.
No.
He put something out there, did he not?
He put something out into the ether. He posted Flat Earth British After Party, which had on with Gav, you know, Gav's After Party. What's his name? Yeah, Flat Earth After Party, Gav. Well, I was on there, right? But he done it for me, Flat Earth British. So he posted that. So I sent him a message. Said, "Are you calling me, Quasi, for anything?" He said, "Yes, Martin. Very perceptive of you." I was. Well, would you want an interview with me? Would you interview you? Yeah. Brilliant. So that was it. End of. So I thought, well, that week, everybody, and I'd seen basically Dan Dimension doing a blood intent on a video, and it sort of turned my stomach a bit. And I thought, Jesus Christ, I hope he knows what he's doing, because I don't really know much about this. So get him on. I'll sit there. And you just let him blurt it out, and then everybody can see what it's all about. So I did exactly that. I sat there and I let him just do his thing in the chair like that, which I had to watch for all that time, which he kept morphing in and out. I was like, and then he's telling me he's the Antichrist, you know, and then he's Satan, and watching this morphing face. It's quite a scary experience from my perspective, Nathan. But I'm not really jiggy with that blood intent thing because I don't know too much about it. If it was real and was good and not hurting anyone, I'd be for it. But I don't really know, and he's not really forthcoming with the information, is he? It's all for him. You have to do it alongside him because he is the chosen one by the Son. The Son told him this because he looked at it, and it's Jesus. So you can make your own minds up, really, guys, if you like. So that was Quasi.
So his message is also clear on this show. You can't fuck this up. Got to get to the center of the CD.
You got it. That's all it is, guys. That's all it is. No more than that. You can't fuck this up, guys. You can't fuck this up. Nathan said it. So after the Quasi, that was like went down a bit like a lead balloon. And then I did Peaky Truth this week. So that was interesting. I approached Peaky for the second time. First time I approached him was about 6 months ago. I said, could I interview Peaky because I'm a really big fan? And he said, I don't do interviews with flat earthers in an Australian accent. Oh, fair enough. And then I watched a video of his last week, which I really enjoyed. I thought, I love Peaky. He's such a laugh. I'm going to send him another message. I might be in with a chance this time. Now I've interviewed Quasi. I might be in with a shout. And yeah, he got back and said, no worries. Well, actually, this is how it really went. I sent him a message. I said, it's me, Martin, Flat Earth British. Can I interview you? The last time I asked you, you told me to fuck off. And he sent me a message back. He said, LOL, I never told you to fuck off, Martin. And he said, I didn't do interviews with flat earthers, but I will on this occasion anytime. So it was like, yay. So, because I was actually honoured because he doesn't do interviews with flat earthers. Well, I hit him with a little flat earth thing at the end, Nathan.
I noticed. I love that. I was cracking up.
Upside down on your ball.
That's it, though, isn't it? I mean, to us, it is just a laugh. So, as much as you want to accommodate PK's desire not to discuss flat Earth, and you did to the most part,
he knows all about
it. At the same token, you kind of want to have a little bit of a dig.
I asked him beforehand. Am I allowed to?
It's so farcical to us. It's so nonsensical. You want to have a laugh.
He knows all about it. He's friends with David Weiss. He's been on a show with Patricia. True Stranger Than Lies. He's appeared on there. He's well up on all of the flat earth videos and the score. I know he is, but he can't say that he's a flat earther, even if he was.
Well, I'm going to ask a few people in chat because although I knew PK, I wasn't subscribed to him when he went on your show. I'm going to ask the chat a quick question. So just before we round out, anybody in the chat, were you exposed to PK by Martin? So if you've just put a Y or a yes, if you're in the chat and you didn't know about him or hadn't subscribed to him before Martin exposed him, I just want to get an idea.
I was wondering
of what it achieved in respect of exposing him and his ideas to a new audience, which from his perspective is, maybe he didn't care, maybe he was just doing it as a favour to you or just because he liked you. I have no idea. Did you discuss that with him?
Yeah, he got up. He was only 20 minutes out of bed. I sent him a Skype and said, when do you want to do this? Because I'd put it off all over Christmas because I'd been feeling ill. And he's like, when he came on Skype, he said, Matt, I'm just having my morning coffee. I feels ill. I came through. I said, well, I don't feel well either. I said, but I got all my people here in chat and they're all really anxious and waiting, I don't want to let them down. So I'll go with it. And he's like, all right, I'll go with it, but I'll give just an hour, Matt. That's all right. Yeah. And he just done it for me, basically. He's such a diamond geezer. A really nice guy. Really lovely fella to do that. He wasn't up to it, really, Nathan. And to be able to do that when you're not in the mood. And he asked, would I help him along, because he was just got up, basically. Who's in the mood to talk when you just get out of bed like that, Nathan? And of course,
because you did get a little bit of grief off people, saying, you were talking over him and stuff. And I don't think that people appreciated that there was a point before the show that he was like, I can't do this, I'm too ill. And he'd asked you to lead the show for him so that he didn't have to, cough and splutter and struggle through it. So, to all your detractors, Martin, get lost.
Yeah,
Martin did a really good job.
And not only that, it was the other end of the spectrum. So he's just got out of bed, and I was gone 11 o'clock at night at the end of a hard day, holding it together and not feeling too well. So I thought, I don't know, right. You know, to be able to force myself to think, talk, and he's, to me, he's pretty, to me, he's a high profile guest because he's he's known to millions. Take a look at his videos, 600,000 watched them, and he's really well known in Australia and all over the world. So, for that, I got that in my mind. I don't want to mess this up. This PK Truth, right? To me, someone who I look up to. I love his stuff, and he likes John Lennon, like me. He's a big Beatles fan. So, and all the stuff he's into is the same as the flat earthers, Nathan. Chemtrailing, vaccines, in bullshit evolution. He still thinks there's gravity, mind, holding him on that ball upside down, spinning. And ships there under Australian, and they don't fall off.
Well, that's why he got you laughing, because you laugh, I laugh, we all laugh. Eventually, PK will laugh about this. Eventually.
You'll have to. You'll get it. Look, if he's thinking, well, look, I spent that time with Martin and all those people who were in chat, they all seem lovely. I don't know whether he's, seen the feedback or what have you, but he's bound to think like, well, these people all watch Martin for something or other. He must have a little dig into looking at flat Earth, I suspect, especially maybe before he went live with me. He didn't mind me one bit. He liked me.
Well, without sounding like I'm kissing up to you too much, Martin, you've come on leaps and bounds in terms of your presentation ability, your information, the way you actually get stuff across to people now is considerably better. I mean, I'm about 2/3 of the way through your last live stream. I don't know why I didn't manage to see that live. I was lurking around looking for something to watch and I didn't see it, weirdly. But there we go. That's just the way these things work out. But I watched it and it's great information. I did skip forward to the last 5 minutes because you told me to. Was it Led Zeppelin that you were playing, or somebody?
Yeah, yes. No, it's not Led Zeppelin. It's the CSS cover version, which is much better. It's not an easy thing to do. Like, there's people out there like Jed Skeptic Media. He does it. There's people like you can do it. Patricia does it, and Mark, and there's a lot of people out there that can hit the microphone and just talk for ages, but it's not an easy thing to do. It's not as easy as you think to be able to just click go with no script and just talk for, say, 2 hours, pure impromptu. Just off like I've been talking to, say, a friend or something. So
that's right, Martin. It is difficult to talk without the script.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Making it up as I go along off the top of my head. This is what I do. I wing it every single time. Sometimes it don't work, sometimes it do. But yeah, I enjoy it. I think with me, I think spontaneity is always the best. If I plan anything, it always goes wrong. But with spontaneity, it seems to go right. It's the way of the universe. In my Krishna beliefs, spontaneity is to be practiced regularly. So out of the spirit of the moment things, just get up in the middle of your room and start having a dance when you want to have a dance. Things like that, Bless you.
Oh, definitely, I'm all for that. Yeah, spontaneity drives the world,
It is. And it's not boring either. The same old boring thing. I don't do boring.
Definitely not, Martin. I think we might round it out there. This was a spontaneous show, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It's been awesome talking to you, Nathan. Thanks. I haven't caught up with you over Christmas. It's been great to have a chat with you. Thanks.
Yeah, well, I hope the viewing public enjoyed it too. It was nice catching up with you, Martin. It's been a real pleasure.
Yeah, always you. Same too. God bless you, Nathan. God bless.
I'll say a big thank you to everyone at home who's been watching us live. So thank you very much for joining us. Thank you again, Martin Liedtke. I've been Nathan Oakley. I'll see you all in the next video.